Hola mi gente, it is your girl Angelique here, also known as Ya. Ya is easier because my full name is Yocheved Angelique, but Ya is way easier to say. And the word dominatrix, so that's my poet's name, my poet's signature, whatever they call it. Because I am not a big person to formally have stuff. So, and I just felt like Erica Badu with all her like medulla oblongata shit. Anyway, all right. So I wanted to talk about something. My first IGTV video. What? Okay. I did an audio set years ago, way back when I first started my Passionate Wise Woman, or the Wise Woman work that I've been committed to for as long as I can remember. And part of that work was, one, kind of deconstructing the almost inaccessibility of being a teacher, or being a spiritual teacher, or being a wise woman, because when I first started like feeling that calling, the only thing that was accessible to me was white women, because of where I live contextually, and like whenever I did search, that's what would come up, right? And so for a long time I resisted, because in my own family lineage there's wise women, and there's a tradition of matriarchal women and wise women, but not close enough generationally for me to have learned teachings from it. There's some things that I've been able to kind of suss out as I've evaluated my family, like family values, or my mom's values, my grandmother, family lineage stuff, that's where my stuff comes from, my mom's side of the family. And one of the things that became frustrating for me very early on was the inaccessibility of teachings and things like that, because you had to pay crazy money to get trained or to take a course. And I had a family, I was a young mom, and I wasn't about to leave my kids or my family to go off to learn herbs or go off to learn medicine. That just didn't resonate with me. I didn't think you have to leave your stuff in order to gain that wisdom. So it changed the way I related to the wise woman in myself and the archetype. So we have a lot of things going on right now around Susan Weed, the herbalist teacher. And what I want to say about that, I think it's important to call her out, all that bullshit, denounce, blah, 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 wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. In the world of white herbalism, everybody should be taking accountability. But the thing that I want to kind of come underneath and deconstruct is something that I taught a long time ago, and that, like, it's interesting to think about relationally when things come up for you and you teach about them, and then later on more things come up and you're like, oh wow, I talked about that way back when. And it's the idea that we need to begin to examine the way the structure of learning spiritual teachings, healing, herbalism, so on and so forth. Its structure is very patriarchal, and it's very hierarchical, and it's very classist. And it doesn't matter what teaching it is, as soon as that motherfucker landed in America, shit changed, right? And that's just being really, like, I tend to talk in, like all or nothing type of thing. So just bear with me, because I'm just really adamant about what I'm saying. And one of the things that you'll notice is that, like, we could be gurued out. Like, whoever the teacher is, we perceive them as having this body of wisdom, this body of knowledge, this information that we want to get. And so the relationship, the structure is, I go empty myself out to be in learning from this great teacher. Now, as a spiritual teacher and as a healer, I recognize the way these relationships can turn into I surrender all, I know nothing. You know it, and I want to receive it. So you tell me how I'm thinking. And while we don't say that, it kind of pans out that way, because not only do you give up money toward it, not only do you, like, you start to indoctrinate yourself, right? There's a part of this that's perfectly within our human nature to take on and to learn and to grow. There's another part of this that we need to examine whether or not a teaching, a spiritual tradition, an herbal tradition, a healing tradition is liberatory in its structure, or is an agency returning, and kind of like what it does, you feel empowered to think critically with your own mind and come to conclusions, awaken your intuition, awaken the God, the goddess, the spirit in you. Or is it meant to give you something and replace your autonomy and agency with someone else's voice? My thing is this: I think that whatever spiritual teachings, ancient traditions we come across at this juncture in our evolution, is meant so that we can take it in, be nourished, and evolve it into what it's becoming. It doesn't stay stagnant. And I'm a Jew, so I'm talking about, there's Jewish-based practices, there's Judaism as a whole, and it's different like denominations and things within it. And so there has to be a responsibility as a person committed to teachings and committed to growing, that I am able to take it in, I am able to alchemize it with my work, with who I am, and then as I live it out, it's evolving into what it needs to be for the generations to come. Now, when you're subscribing to teachings, when you're looking for shit, that's not the metric we're looking for, right? We hear a lot of the words of community building, we hear a lot of words of liberation, we hear all of that stuff, and yet whatever group you become a part of tends to become cultish in its manner, tends to ask for a surrender of identity, personal identity, in order to have access to that. I want you to watch that. I want you to really start looking and evaluating. And if we can't ask those fucking tough questions of the shit that we believe the most, we're in trouble. That same critical analysis that we use for other things, we need to use for spiritual teachings. There's some places or some constructs of spirituality that cost thousands and thousands of dollars to be a part. Like, that's crazy. Now, having said that, and I need to be mindful with that word, having said that, if you feel totally led to that, as long as you still retain your agency, as long as you still retain your critical thinking about that and anything else, then fine. Then you're awake, then you're present, and you're choosing. The minute you feel that because there's this emptying out around spiritual practice. We're like, oh, I want to be empty so that I can be filled. And in that, there's like this, surrender. Like, I no longer have my own thought. This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Rabbi so-and-so. I'm thinking Guru so-and-so. I'm thinking, teaching so-and-so. I'm thinking Course in Mirror. I'm thinking all of this. And my life is no longer a divine, unique expression of who I am and what I'm meant to do in this time and generation as we're evolving. So where the fuck you at? How are you doing? Are you really thinking clearly and critically about what you're taking in as information and what you're subscribing to? Why do we say this? Because all this shit that's happening with Susan Weed, she ain't the first one. She ain't the last one to create schools of thoughts or to create spaces in which it turns into this weird shit because everybody wants to go and learn herbalism that way. And in going and learning herbalism that way and becoming her student, you surrender everything to a pathway that you have not yet known enough about to integrate, and whether or not you will integrate it all or maybe nothing. This is the question. Does it serve me where I'm at? Does it fill me? Does it energize me? Does it bless me? Do I feel encouraged? Do I feel free to decide how my own life is going to work? What the fuck I'm going to cook in my goddamn kitchen because it's my kitchen? What I'm going to write? What I'm not going to write? How I'm going to rise? How I'm going to rest? Like, are you able to still maintain your agency? And if not, we're in trouble, and we have been in trouble, right? But there's not enough of us calling this shit out and talking about it. I don't want to go on forever with Susan Weed. It's not only Susan Weed, it's a whole bunch of other shit. You name it, and we can find constructs of patriarchy, constructs of classism, you name it, racism, go on and so forth. What I want to know is, do you have the tools to critically think about and to critically protect and maintain your agency and your choice in how you're going to live out a thing, a practice, whether or not it is in alignment with who you are. Half of the people don't know who they are and are going out to seek definition, which is fine, identity and so on. But if you do that at the cost of like your own intuitive beingness, then you miss out on the greatest opportunity, and that's to uniquely be yourself. And that's who we need. We don't need robots, we don't need proxies, we don't need mimics, we don't need avatars. We need you and your work in the way it is expressed through you as you alchemize and integrate. So there it goes from my first IGTV. You're welcome to share this as much as you want. And if you ever feel inclined to like rebuttal this, you can go rebuttal it in a Facebook line that people want to hear more stuff. I was gonna say crazy shit, I need to change that. But people want to debate. I'm not here to debate. I'm here to ask you whether or not you are in full agency in all that you are taking in and liberatory practice and experience and living. So I love you. I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.